Hey, Misfits, there was a comment that came through our Facebook group on our Wednesday check-in for help, and I thought it was really good. So I thought we'd just take a minute and answer your question here. So here it is. I am the first BCBA ever to be hired in my district. No pressure, right? No, no, no. And I'm having a hard time shifting views to the big picture and impacting school-wide behavior change. And I wanted to do this in person because we've both been through this. I've made suggestions for practices we could use in all classrooms, but find as a school, the focus is more on firefighting solving problems for individual students that might be less problematic if we were focusing on some simple school-wide practices. Any suggestions for how to shift the viewpoint to the bigger picture? What
Wow,
first
that's
comes to mind?
okay. The first thing that comes to mind is that when I first started working in my last district, maybe like 10 or 15 years ago, I happened to be visiting another school as part of like a program visit. And I kind of like knew the BCBA there. It was a bigger school. And I was the first BCBA, like this person in their district at the time for my school. And we had like a mutual friend or something like that. And I was like, oh, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, you just started, right? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, takes about 3 to 4 years to see any, like, really long-lasting changes as, like, a culture in the school, and that always really stuck with me because I found it to be true in, like, every placement I went since then. So, not the answer in itself, but just kind of, like, shifting your mindset a little bit to taking it, like, one piece at a time because it really is a huge change you're taking on.
Yeah, I've been in several districts now where either I was the first or helping the first BCBA get in there, and the school-wide changes, that is an absolute big struggle. You are on the struggle bus. And I would say that's a great yardstick. It takes a couple of years. And it just like anything that we start teaching our staff to go in is just to start with baby steps, just figuring out the first things you can do because it is a big mind shift from playing whack-a-mole because they're all, especially if they waited so long before they get support, then when they finally get you, they're like, well, fix this, fix that, fix that. And they always think that when you go in that you're like the magic wand, you're going to wave and fix this situation. It's like it takes time. So this last district that I was in, they implemented the MTSS PBIS. And I think that made a big change. So once the school district was using the different tiers, they understood like tier one was really what you're talking about, those school wide behavior, everybody's strategies. And then tier two is when you start to pull out individualized supports in the classrooms. And then tier three were those that either were or weren't on an IEP, were at least heading that way, very individualized, talking about informal behavior plans or something. So having that laid out and then be able to work with the school to understand those tier ones, if we can get things changed here, then the students don't need to go through all these other tiers. So let's focus a lot of our energy here because it's going to be preventative on all of this other stuff going on.
Totally, and I think too, like, talking to your admin and getting their perspective on where they're at with that, like, do they see that as, like, a short-term goal or a long-term goal? And doing those check-ins with them, and also asking like, volunteering to do, like, some faculty meetings or some presentations or stuff so that just even in the beginning so that all staff are using the same language, like, it's not gonna be an overnight thing, but just aligning those goals.
Well, I like that one. Offering to do 15 minutes during the next staff meeting, 10 minutes, even 5 minutes to stand up and introduce yourself. This is what I can do. This is how I can help. These are some simple Here's one strategy that we could all work on this month that's for everybody, not just for special ed students or anything. But I think that's a great thing to do. If you have any other questions or whatever, throw them in the Facebook group. We love to answer them. And that's what we're here for. So hopefully that helps a little bit.